Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you happen to be listening. I am super excited to welcome to the show today, Tracy Staniland. She is the head of marketing at Chisel AI. She is just outside Toronto, Canada. So I'm going to say my neighbor to the north. And Tracy and I met, I believe, originally on LinkedIn. And I had participated in their interview series on women in insurance. I was so excited to be part of that. It was actually one of the first projects I did after making the switch over to Total CSR earlier this year. And so it felt like it was just like this huge deal for me. I don't know if I ever told you like how excited I was to get that invite in my email. So welcome to the show, Tracy. I'm excited to have this time with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Olivia, for inviting me to join you today, and thank you for participating in our Women in Insurance series. We were very pleased that you decided to join the series, and very pleased to feature you as a woman in insurance.
Yes, well, it is an amazing industry, and I always love to see when we bring different parts of the industry together, and we really just kind of get to highlight some pretty amazing people. You guys have gotten to get some great insight from other amazing women and leaders in the industry. So I love watching your work.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting series. We're very much focused on featuring women of all aspects of the insurance industry. So, carriers, brokers, agents, even, technology vendors that are serving the industry. And we've been learning a lot from all the individuals that we've been featuring, and we've got a very good response to the series. So if anybody's interested in being featured, get in touch with me. We'd be happy to feature you.
Yeah.
Or if you know somebody we should be featuring, let me know.
Yes, absolutely. So I will make sure that you guys have a way to reach Tracy and drop a name to her. If you have somebody, it's a great line of questions that you guys ask. Just the series has been such an eye-opener for me, and it's helped me to just like learn about different parts of the industry that maybe I wasn't being exposed to as much on the agency side. So I love how you guys are taking all of those different parts of the industry and pulling them all together in this.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because one of the questions we ask is about, how you started your journey in insurance. And, everybody's response is unique. And it's just interesting to see how people, fell into insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And as many of your listeners know, when you fall into insurance, you don't leave the industry. So it's just interesting, to see people's journeys and what they've accomplished. And also, how they're giving back. So how is the industry recruiting new talent?
Mm-hmm.
And the different tactics and programs that different firms have in place to recruit that new talent. So it's very educational. I think if anybody takes a look at it, they'll definitely learn something.
Yeah, and we'll dive into this some more later, but like there are so many paths. Everybody's path is so unique. Like there's similarities and there's ways that our journeys, me having my journey help somebody else, in terms of me being able to provide some insight or advice in where they may be struggling. But really, there's just so many unique paths that bring us together. And that's, I mean, could be true of any industry, but obviously I love insurance the most. So
yeah, well, I've actually now this is my third technology vendor that I've worked with that has served the insurance industry. So yeah, which is kind of interesting. I would say I really enjoy working in the insurance industry and meeting people within the insurance industry. I would say one of the things that I always take away is everybody's so kind and everybody's so nice.
Yeah, it's a great industry, and I think that's part of the reason why people don't leave. I know I joked before we formally hit record here that we get injected with something and then we can't actually get it out of our system. But I mean, there is a certain like amount of truth to that it gets in your blood, and you can make a really amazing career in this industry And there's not one thing that you have to do. Like there's so many options, so much opportunity, whether you want to be on the tech side or you want to be in underwriting or you want to, you know, run an agency every day or be in an agency. Like there are so many different opportunities. And when you feel like maybe you're in the wrong lane and you're ready for a change, there's going to be something else available that allows you to stay in the industry. I'm going to tell you, I'm living proof of this. I wasn't sure exactly where my road was going to go. You know, I knew I was ready for a change, and fortunately, I get to stay very close to the industry without being in an agency every day. So I feel very lucky to watch the evolution of my journey, or be part. I guess I'm not watching it; I'm being part of the evolution of my journey. So, so yeah.
Well, and I think too, you know, not to be too cliche, but and as many people have said, especially going through the pandemic that we're living through right now, is insurance is the backbone
Mm-hmm.
of business, right? It's the backbone of every industry. I mean, you have to have insurance. So just feel very lucky that we're working in an industry that is so vital to everybody's life.
Yeah, I think one of my I was listening to a playback of one of my boss's podcasts, and he was talking about how unique the industry is in that it touches everybody.
Yes.
You can't look at any single person or entity and be like, well, there's no need for insurance there. Like it is such an important part of our lives. It's interwoven in the fabric of everything that we do. So yeah, it's a critical part of the economy and so many other things for sure.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of which, what has your journey been like? Like what, you know, what brought you to Chisel? What brought you into marketing? What has that been like?
Yeah, so my journey's kind of interesting because, you know, we're living through a time right now where, you know, there's, you know, some contemplation of what kind of recession are we going to be in? What's the economy going to be doing? Well, when I graduated college, way back when, we were in a recession.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, of course, I had studied marketing, and there were really no marketing jobs to be had. Like it was just, you know, there was nobody was hiring, and so I decided, well, I wanted to get a job. So I leveraged the experience and the skills that I had gathered through, you know, co-op jobs, summer jobs, and I landed at a technology company. And I decided at that point in time that I was going to make friends with people that were in the marketing department. And that was how I was going to make my leap into marketing. And so that's what I did. Finally, an opportunity opened up, and I ended up in the marketing team on the product marketing side. And that's how my journey began. I decided, like, I just loved marketing. I loved the product marketing side. And then over time, I moved over to kind of marketing communications, and made some movements to other software companies mostly software companies. And I worked for mostly startups because I just like the adrenaline of a startup. You're building things, you're really contributing to the bottom line. You can see how you're contributing to the bottom line. I did a couple of short stints at organizations like IBM, where I just felt, you know, the organization was too big. And it was.
Is this maybe where we bonded? I did 13 months at IBM.
Oh, did you?
I feel like whenever I say that, people are like, "Were you in prison or were you at IBM?" Because I was like, I did time, and it was a very large organization, and it didn't feel like a home to me at any point. So yeah, go on. Sorry, just so
I did 1 year there and felt very the same way. I felt like I was in a box, and so I left there to go to another startup. And so yeah, and so what led me to Chisel was, you know, of course, AI. For somebody who's had, you know, a 20-year career in technology, AI seemed like the next logical step. You know, very emerging technology, and then also, you know, serving the insurance industry, which was somewhere I felt like, oh, okay, I have some experience there, and something that interested me. I have still have lots of friends and colleagues that are in the insurance industry. And so that's what led me to Chisel. And, as a, organization that's scaling up, there's just so much opportunity to be involved in different projects and different initiatives. And, I see how AI can really enrich uh, lives of insurance professionals and really help them, automate some of these mundane tasks that they're doing and let them do things that, are much more strategic, leverage their skills. And so it just seemed like a good natural fit for me. So that's how I ended up at Chisel.
And what is it that Chisel does? Like, can you
Yeah, so Chisel is, it's a natural language processing and machine learning solution.
Love it.
That helps, we work with commercial insurance carriers and brokers. So it enables them to actually extract data that's in these complex, unstructured insurance documents and be able to give more access to this data to underwriters so that they can, assess risks and apply better pricing strategies. And then also we help automate workflows like application intake and checking policies for errors and omissions. So that's how we're working with carriers and brokers today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, for so many reasons. For one, I think it's very easy in insurance to get caught up in the tediousness of different things that aren't really, there's no ROI there. I mean, it's a necessity, but it's not really helping the end game. And we get so caught up in the weeds, it's like, but we're not accomplishing anything. It's like you're running in place type of thing, but you have to do it. It's just part of, covering yourself and your due diligence in the insurance industry. But also, like, I get so nerdy about machine learning. Like, I seriously, like, I try and talk to my kids about it. And I've told this story before, but, like, Alexa does this thing where, well, obviously they, those devices listen, but every once in a while, like, she'll start flashing and I'll say, like, Alexa, what are you doing? And she'll be like, I'm just listening and learning. And I was like, guys, this is machine learning. Like,
yeah,
this is fascinating. And they're like, we don't care, Mom. We just want her to go back to playing music. So
yeah, I mean, there's various types of AI. So you're right. Like Alexa is, kind of a speech voice recognition type of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's so many ways that all of this technology, we've watched it kind of evolve in the world around us, and now seeing it all come into our lives in the insurance industry is just absolutely fascinating. And the nice thing is that a lot of the technology is built, it's really customizing it now for the industry and making it work for us.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was working for a software company called Chameleon Solutions about 7 years ago. And then I left to go work for a backup software company and then to come back to Chisel and come back into the insurance industry. And there was a lot of evolution in that time frame. And everybody was throwing around this term Insuretech. And I was like, what is this Insuretech? But yeah, the industry is evolving very quickly. So for a very old industry that's inundated in data, and it's making the shift fairly quickly. Some people may think, oh well, it's still very slow, but when you think about it, actually, the carriers and brokers are moving fairly quickly.
Yeah,
actually, to embrace all of this technology. And of course, with COVID, everybody's being forced to move even faster because for agents and brokers, there's no face-to-face anymore.
Right.
So it's like, how do you do some of these things that we used to do face-to-face? How do we do them now digitally and still accomplish the same thing, right? Like you still want to be nurturing those customer relationships and, you still have to get signatures and, there's still things that have to happen. So how do we do them seamlessly and digitally?
Yeah. I mean, and it's fascinating to watch it because I've been in the industry for 15 years and to think about what seemed like cool technology when I started and what things are now, it is light years. I mean, obviously there's a lot of years that have happened in between then as well, but just in the last couple of years, seeing how quickly this has really started to gain steam, and adoption rates hopefully are going up as well. But you think about how much information just sat in these silos for so long, and now we're adopting this technology that is allowing those things to interlock and connect and really start to pull pieces together that create meaningful output. Like it is like it's just absolutely fascinating to me. Like I could nerd out about this stuff all day long. I absolutely love it. Like it's so interesting now to see things unfold, because it does feel like there was that building for a long time.
Yeah.
Now it's just like we're seeing the results of a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very interesting seeing all the technology plays in the industry. With analytics and all the different, marketplaces, and, with the usage-based insurance and all the solutions that cater to that, AI, machine learning. Yeah, it's just a whole host of technologies.
Yeah. And if you think about the purpose of technology, right, is really to make sure that everything that needs to happen behind the scenes is happening. And then the end user or the client is getting what they need in the most efficient and effective manner possible, with as more bases covered that we didn't know we weren't covering before. So just like streamlining that whole process and getting that, I'm going to use the term umbrella. I don't mean umbrella policy, but kind of broadening that umbrella. So we're just like, we're pulling more together and pulling more in, and hopefully in the end, clients are getting better products, agents are getting better technology and processes to make things happen the way they need to meet client needs. Carriers are able to expedite and deliver more quickly than they were before. So you can see how the whole chain just really starts to move a lot different than it was before.
Yeah. And I know we were talking earlier about, our consumer buying behaviors changing so quickly, and because of COVID. And I think that's one of the things that the industry, needs to address more too. I mean, customers' demand, their buying behaviors are changing very, very fast. And, we often talk about the Amazon effect. I mean, everybody wants everything yesterday. So, so the industry, is under a lot of pressure to, how do they catch up to the Amazon effect, or, comply with, people wanting things very, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what things look like 12 months from now and 5 years from now. Yeah, it'll just, so I'm excited to see how this all continues to build and evolve. Because I think there's a lot of fascinating things, and obviously a lot of startups just on the edge of some really great things. So yeah, I love it. I love being part of the industry at this point in time. I think it's critical, and there's so much magic happening all over the place.
Yeah, that's definitely an exciting time to be in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look back on your journey up to now, you're at Chisel, obviously getting to interact with a whole bunch of fascinating work that's going on, which is absolutely amazing. What have been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, I think one of the lessons that I've learned is it's okay to fail. So I think a lot of people, get quite caught up in the fact that things don't always work out as planned. But I think, inside of that, there's always the opportunity to learn. So I think that's one of the big lessons I've learned. The other thing is, and I'm still working on this, is, in a lot of cases, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm trying to live by the 80% is okay. It's okay to let it go out the door at 80%, because, just good is good. And it's better to move forward than to have perfect. And so I think that's one of the lessons I've learned, is just, to be less focused on the perfection part of things.
Yeah. And that's hard
You know?
to go.
Yeah. And I think, it's just actually yesterday I seen this quote that somebody I know had published, Catherine Rose. She's the founder and CEO of Wiser. And the quote was, disappointment is inevitable, but misery is optional. And I thought that's a great quote, because it doesn't matter at some point, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, you are going to be disappointed. That is inevitable. And so it's what you do with that. How do you turn that around to a positive? How do you learn something from it? And I think that's one of the key things, is always be learning, and to really embrace opportunities that you have, to always be learning and be leveraging any opportunities that present themselves. Life is not a dress rehearsal. So, you can't wait for people to bring opportunities to you. You need to make opportunities, embrace them, and just run with them.
Yeah. And it can be scary, especially if you are a perfectionist. You're like, well, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. And I think perfectionism, well, it always makes you stall out. And I fight it every single day. I'd love to meet somebody that has embraced non-perfectionism in everything in their life. And then I want to study how they've done this. But it's hard. And so even if it's like you let it go in one thing, it's like, then it's just like some other thing, and it will cause you to stall out. So I am with you on letting that go. It is a relief when you do it, but it's hard to get there.
Yeah, it's hard to get there. And I mean, it's hard to fail. Like, it's hard to put everything that you have into whatever project it is you're working on, and not get the outcome that you had desired. But then I think to, sit back and kind of dissect it and take away some key learning.
Yeah.
It's all good. That actually is a good thing. So I think it's okay to fail sometimes and learn from that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think for me, when I hear that, obviously I know I need to work on it myself. But hopefully I can help my kids just develop that now. Because I think mine probably started back when I was much younger than I am now. But just guessing based on certain things. But yeah, so I think it kind of gets ingrained in us a little bit. And so then,
it does. Yeah.
Finding it and letting it go can be tough for sure. So have you had, some mentors along the way, or people that have made a big impact and helped you along in your journey? Like, who are those people?
Oh, yes. I've had a couple of mentors. Way back early in my career, when I started in product marketing, I worked with a product manager who at the time I thought was so tough and unforgiving, and just really difficult person to work with. But I look back now, and I have to say I appreciate everything that she did, because I think she taught me a lot, and I learned a lot working with her that I have now taken through my career. And I had the opportunity, actually, as much as I talk about she was so tough to work with, she actually left and went to another company. And then I ended up following her and working with her. I worked with her at 3 different companies. But I learned so much from working with her. So I think, sometimes we tend to like people to be nice and kind and all that kind of stuff on our day-to-day. But sometimes, people that are tough, and they make you, she was always asking tough questions. I'd deliver a project, and then she'd be like, but why did you do this? Why did you do that? Did you ask this? Did you ask? And, I'd get like really kind of frustrated, but then it was good because she taught me to think beyond what I had already done. And really that it really taught me a lot about, ask yourself the tough questions. Like, have you answered all the questions about something? And to really, I don't know, it kind of elevated my thinking.
Yeah.
And so when I look back at that now, I think that was great. So yeah, definitely I've had a couple of managers that were terrific mentors.
Yeah.
And really,
oh, go ahead.
no, just really gave me a lot of opportunities and
Yeah.
brought me into a lot of different projects that normally somebody in my role at the time would not have been exposed to, but they would bring me along. And a lot of times it was sometimes, just shadowing them. But, I got exposure to things that probably wouldn't have got exposure to so early in my career. So I really am thankful to them for giving me those opportunities.
I think it's amazing what can happen when we have those people that come into our lives and challenge us. And it feels a little uncomfortable, certainly
Yes.
in the moment. And then you look at how it propelled you forward. Like when you can look at it in retrospect, it's a lot less painless. But yeah, if we're not being challenged, then, that person probably really isn't a mentor, they're a friend.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you. And I would say, yeah, she challenged me every day. Some days I went home, I was just like, you know, probably not calling her some very nice words, but now I look back and I'm so thankful
Yeah.
that she challenged me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, yeah. And I have people in my life that are like that. And they're also friends. I mean, they know when to shut it off, where I'm like, okay, this is enough. But it's certainly like they are those people that are going to ask the why. They're going to ask the deeper questions. They're going to, try and get to the root of where my thought process was, where I was just like, I don't know, I thought it looked good, so
Yeah.
it's interesting, and it does make you, it pushes you forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've also been very lucky because I had some very strong women in my life. Um, like I think back to a lot of times I think about my grandmother's life where she had 8 kids and was running a farm, and my grandfather was away working. And a lot of times when I hit challenges in my life, I think back, I go, how did she ever do that? Like I can persevere through this. If she could do that, I can persevere through this. So I feel, very lucky to have had like strong women like her in my life and my own mother as well. And so I think those role models really help support you in life as you're going through difficult times and you're uh, dealing with some adverse things that are happening, whether it's personal or professional. And you think back to like, oh, I mean, they could do that. I can deal with this any day.
Yeah. And it's interesting because obviously they were very strong leaders, and it can be very easy to like paint leadership in a small box and be like, well, this is what it means. You need to have these letters behind your name. But obviously your grandmother she was running a household and a business.
Yeah.
With 8 other, I don't want to say employees, but 8 other people running around that she had to try and, keep organized and do something, so gosh, I mean, ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of kids to try and keep track of and make sure that everything else was running the way that it was supposed to. Like,
Oh yeah. Sometimes I think back to the things that she was dealing with, and I'm like, I don't know how you ever dealt with all of that,
yeah,
and kept everything going. And I think to my own life, I go, all I have to worry about is getting myself to work and doing my job and getting home again. And she had to look after, 8 other people and, be responsible for, making sure that a farm was running and putting food on the table and doing all of these other things.
yeah, yeah. And without technology.
And without technology, without a lot of automation,
Yeah.
when you think back to even like dishwashers and washing machines and all the things that we take for granted today.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine doing laundry like with a, now I decorate. What were those things called that you would like, the washboards?
Yeah, washboards, and then
Yes.
they progressed to the other non-automated washing machines.
Like I can't even imagine. Like my brain can't. People use those for decoration now. Like, oh, this is vintage. No, that was the way people did things.
Well, and I really wouldn't want to live without my dishwasher either.
No, me neither. I remember I used to hear this joke, like if you had kids, you had dishwashers. You didn't need an automated one. I definitely prefer the real automated one where I know things are clean and sanitized.
Yes.
I can see my kids just being like, I rinsed it and I stuck it in the rack because that's good enough. Or the dog licked it. Oh my gosh. Oh, so Chisel has done this amazing job of highlighting females in the industry. You obviously have had some wonderful female leaders in your life. And we talked about this a little bit, but how do we get more women to step into leadership positions or to take that brave next step in their career, whatever that looks like for them?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on something there when you said brave. I think women tend to, I mean, you know, you don't want to paint the wide brushstroke, but most women tend to, you know, be less flamboyant than their male counterparts, and they're not always, you know, very aggressive at telling their own stories and telling about their own accomplishments. And but so many women have done so many great things, and you know, that's one of the reasons that we started this series, was we wanted to highlight some of the things that women were doing in insurance. And you know, right down to, you know, the agents, the small brokers, the tech vendors, like, it doesn't matter who you work for. We wanted to really highlight the accomplishments that women have had, whether that's recruiting new people into the industry, or it's launching a technology solution, or it's accomplishing a huge project at a huge carrier. We just really wanted to acknowledge that. And I think, you know, one of the ways that, you know, I've been very lucky to have such great mentors, but I think that's one of the ways that we can give back, is just mentoring younger people, you know, and sharing our experiences. I think that's, you know, another key way is that, you know, you may not think that something that you've done is significant, but to somebody else, just hearing you talk about it and talking about your experience and talking about how you accomplished it, you could be, you know, enlightening them. It could be encouragement for them. So I think just sharing stories and sharing how others have done things is very enlightening to everyone.
Yeah. So what I love about this survey that you guys, or this interview, the line of questioning that you guys have put together for this series is, well, for one, like, I'm a minimizer. Like, I'm going to tell you that I've accomplished nothing, that I've done nothing, that I've, you know, I've been here for 15 years and like, I know some really amazing people and I feel very lucky. Like, if you ask me to sum it up, that's what I'm going to tell you. And so when I initially got the email from you, like, I'm super excited about this, but I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I don't have anything to talk about. And so I remember staring at it going, I don't know if I really have anything to share here. But the thing is that we all have these like fascinating journeys and these experiences that are going to inspire somebody. It doesn't matter if it's one other person or it's 20 other people. There's so much value in the path that we've been on in terms of just helping somebody else recognize maybe something that they didn't see as an option or an opportunity before. And so I'm so grateful that you guys did that. And the timing of it was perfect, because I was kind of like, I'm in this role and I don't know what it's going to be like, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to share. And so I was glad that you guys, you immediately kind of like pulled me a little bit outside of my comfort zone that I had been operating in for so long. I don't know if I mentioned it like after we started recording, but like seeing my world expand and explode so much has been amazing. And so I'm glad that you guys are there doing this and helping this same thing happen for other women. And I love it. I love how it's put me in touch with amazing people and exposed me to so many other journeys. But I'm gonna bring something up, and we talked about this. I know we talked about this before we formally hit record. But like, I want to promote more women as well, and so I'm glad that we're you know on the same wavelength here. But I have found it challenging to get women on the show. So just like, if you guys want to be part of the Chisel AI survey, definitely do that, and then send me a note next to come on the podcast, because I certainly want to have those conversations. You know, I've had men reach out and ask to be on the show. My goal is to continue highlighting women for as long as I can possibly do that. And so I think that there's a lot of power in being able to do that. And I certainly will do everything I can to support the efforts of Chisel as you guys continue to do that.
Well, yeah, we definitely appreciate your support, Olivia. And yeah, I think you're right. It's just, you're inspiring somebody else. Even though you may not think your story is interesting, it will be interesting to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've come to recognize, and it's just, I'm reminded almost every single day that all the unique things that we bring to the table they're helpful to somebody else. We may not think
Yes.
anything of it, or we've managed to talk ourselves out of believing that it's special, but it really is. I mean, we all have our own little flavor.
Yeah. And I would say, for people that are trying to work on their presentation skills or, messaging, being on a podcast is a great way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not standing on a stage in a full room. I mean, it's a good practice areas to be on a podcast, have a conversation, practice your presentation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I will tell you that 12 months ago, I didn't think I was going to be hosting a podcast. So this is all like part of my expanding world that I've leapt into with both feet. So yeah, there's no foot on the bridge or on the shore or anything like that. Like, oh my gosh. So if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, one of the biggest pieces of advice would be, just be yourself. I think lots of times, I'm kind of borderline introvert extrovert. And so I get a lot of grief a lot of times about being introverted. And, it's taken me some time, but I just now embrace that, and it's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, and there's, we're all unique. There's nobody else like you. There's nobody else like me. And just embrace who you are and be who you are. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. And I think, it took me a lot of years to get to that conclusion because, there's the media, there's all kinds of things that happen around you. There's peer pressure. And I think, if you just want to be happy and with what you're doing and in your life, it's just like, be who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I love hearing about that is I think there's a universal struggle. I don't think that there's I don't really know anybody that hasn't had those insecurities that have crept in. Like, should I be a different way? Is who I am okay? And certainly like self-improvement, always important, always. But who you are at your core, like, it's okay to be that person. And it can be so easy to look at the media and let that be the biggest influence in your life. But I think there's certainly better sources for that. It's just a matter of identifying what those are sometimes, and also embracing the influence that you have as an individual. Somebody else is watching you.
Yeah. I think we forget that. I don't think that's something that we often think about, is that somebody else is watching us. But I think, I just think you really need to just embrace who you are. I think, and like I said, it's taken me a long time to kind of get to that point, but it's like, it's okay. And like you said, I always say, like, continue learning, always learning, always be improving. I'm not suggesting that you don't do that, but I'm just suggesting it's okay to be who you are.
Yeah. Because I think like personality and development are two different things, and we kind of like sometimes we mash them all together.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, I need to be somebody else in order to do this thing or be this thing. But I think we have to be able to separate those things a little bit.
Yeah, and we always think that we need to conform to a specific way of doing things in order to progress in our careers or, to be included in things. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think everybody brings something to the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. So what does the future hold for you, or what's Chisel up to? Like what are the big plans that you have, Tracy?
Yeah, so well, we're scaling up, we're growing. Hopefully, more people in the industry are getting to know who we are. So we're very much focused on, just making sure people know who Chisel is, what's the value prop that we bring to the marketplace. And so that's really what we're focused on. We're going to be at ITC in September, the digital version of ITC.
Mhm.
So you can catch up with us there. And we're, very much focused on delivering content and educational content to the industry, and continuing with our Women in Insurance blog series. And so, yeah, we're very much focused on trying to give back to the industry through our technology, trying to enrich the lives of insurance professionals and help them save time by automating some of these mundane tasks that they're doing.
Yeah, because I guarantee you, if you called any agent or anybody in the industry, they could probably give you like a list of 10 mundane tasks off the top of their head that they wish that they could move from their plate. I
Yeah.
certainly could have when I was on
Yeah,
the.
I mean, rekeying data doesn't get you that excited.
No, no, I can't think of a single person that is like, I hope that I want to see what my keystroke count is at the end of the day. Maybe there's a badge of honor somewhere for that.
Yeah, exactly. How many words per minute?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Do you know, this is funny, Tracy, because at one point, so my oldest took typing class. I don't think my younger two will, but he would want to
Well,
have.
I didn't want to say I took typing class because that would age me.
Oh no, I took typing class. I remember it. And it was like, and I remember telling my parents, like, I am never going to use this. Why am I taking this? Well, thank God. I'm so glad that they forced me to take that class. But my son used to want to have typing contests to see who could type faster. I believe I won every single time, but yeah, that's so funny. Now it used to be a big deal.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Now it's just like everybody's the length of everything has gotten shorter.
That's true. Yeah, so you don't need to type so fast when you're only doing 40 characters.
Yes, exactly. If it can't fit in a tweet, it's not going in an email either. Sorry guys. maybe these are words to live by in terms of like being more concise in our messaging.
That's true.
Yeah, going with short text from now on. Sorry guys. Um, yes. So, are you ready for my secret question?
Okay. I think I'm ready. I'm scared, but I think I'm ready.
I'll try. I'll take it easy on you. I promise. Except I ask everybody the same question. So if you got to play DJ for 5 minutes, you get to pick a song. Everybody gets to listen to it. What are you going to choose?
That's a really good question. And I'm not a huge music buff. So, what's coming to mind for me? I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind for me right now is Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, well, there you go. It's a classic.
It is a classic.
Yeah, I was once told that maybe I could learn how to play that on guitar. I did get a guitar during COVID. I have only taken it out of the case maybe twice.
Oh, shame on you.
Yeah, I'm a long ways from learning Stairway to Heaven, unless I'm some sort of just expert and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, I think I just aged myself with that song too. But anyways, that's the first one that came to mind.
No, you did not age yourself. I do constantly like change my my music playlist. So yeah, no, I don't think you aged yourself.
But it is a long classic.
It is a classic. At some point I'm going to make a playlist of all of the songs that people have suggested on the show. So I have to get to work on that. Becky Schroeder actually had suggested that I she's like, definitely do it. And then it's been, I don't know, 3 weeks and I still haven't done it yet. So
That's a great idea.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see. There's a pretty broad range already. So I'm excited to see how it turns out as I continue to add songs to the list. But yeah, there's some good stuff in there. So
great question. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. There's a story behind it, but yeah, it was I switched it up a little bit. But the original question was, if the world was ending and you got to play one song before it was over, like what would you pick? And I was like, well, gosh, it's kind of doomsday. And given the world that we're living in right now, I don't think anybody wants to think about that. So I had to change it up a little bit. So you just get to
probably a good idea.
Yeah. So I just like to think of all of us dancing together and experiencing a whole wide world of music. So
yes, it'll be very nice when we can all dance together again.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I do plan to make a trip to Canada when I can get into that country. But for now, you'll be in Toronto, I'll be in Iowa, but I do hope that our paths cross and we get to meet in person.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Once these events
can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Virtual's nice, but in person would be that much better.
Yes, absolutely. You will hear me coming. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so much fun, Tracy. I appreciate your time. This has been so great to get to know you in a different way. And I look forward to learning or seeing the other women that you feature, and, and we'll just kind of, maybe push some names back and forth, and we'll get both of those lists going.
Yes, for sure. This has been awesome. So thank you so much for the invitation, Olivia. Yes. And it's been great talking to you today, and we'll continue the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will catch up soon.
Yes, for sure. You too. Have an awesome rest of the week.
Yes, you too.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.